Hello, everyone, anyone who's out there watching this right now. My name is Zach from the Cursebusters, and I'm here with a little Chapter 4 update video. So you see, I'm a big dumb dummy, and I did not realize that Twitch had updated their VOD settings. So if we see here, previously it was 14 days. So I thought I had time to go in and download it later and upload it. But it had changed at the start of the month, which I didn't realize, and it went away after 7 days, and it is currently about 10 days since the last, since Chapter 4 was recorded, so it is now gone to the void. I started, after the first one, just streaming them to Twitch and then downloading the VODs to ease the strain on my computer a little bit. With all the windows and things that need to be open for the production. So just in case anyone's watching this, keeping up through the YouTube or going through the back catalog to catch up, I wanted to come on and give a little update, or not an update, a recap of the previous chapter. Just so you know what you missed. So we started off Chapter 4 right after the group had given the Tamakabar to Scholar Amelia and saved the people that were attacked in the Kraken attack of the Ark. Everyone had gotten back, and they had gone back to their dormitory to celebrate with some breakfast with Chef Doran, and they gave themselves the group name The Breakfast Club. They announced this to the world by going to the foyer of their dormitory, a large wall where these groups would typically put their names, kind of announcing the presence of the guild or faction or whoever it might be, and writing up the Breakfast Club, not with paint, not with an engraving, but by organizing breakfast foods in the letters, giving up about halfway through as Oigo engraved his name below. But from there, the group just went to sleep, and Blade was kind of jolted. He doesn't sleep, but kind of jolted out of his kind of mindless thinking or whatever he might do throughout the night to pass the time by some noise coming from this foyer. A little skittering, as he could kind of tell that rats or some kind of rodent was taking the breakfast food off the wall. They were able to... He tried to chase after them, but stumbled on a stealth check, and they were able to get away without him even noticing, scurrying down into the basement where he lost them. The next morning, the group got back together with Riley. As this was the beginning of the new week, the Scholars of Jakar had unveiled the scorecards for the previous week's Faced system. The Faced system is a big thing we covered. This campaign will kind of revolve around a combination of civilization builder mechanics, kind of placed and fueled by D&D adventures. So we've talked a lot about what the Faced system is this week. It was a thing that the Scholars of Jakar have kind of constructed to help people understand what parts of their settlements need work and what parts are doing well. All of the major 4 settlements have adopted this. That being, if I can get down to the map, O'Shane, Asnor, the Asperans, the natives, and Balin. All 4 of those. The Louts haven't, as they're not a typical settlement trying to vie for expansion. The Face system is breakdown. It's an acronym standing for farming, academia, commerce, entertainment, and defense. If you see here, it's split into 3 categories. You have resource points, or RP, expansion points, or EP, and overflow points, and OP. We'll get back to this later. In our Twitch, you can find linked a calendar of the world we've set up. So this would be the season of Zeta in the year 1429, and this would be the second week, the days 11 through 20. There's 7 seasons in a year, each broke down into 5 10-day weeks, or 50 days total. So this would be the second week. And this is solely for Tarrendale of House O'Shane, O'Shane's only settlement at the time of the start of our adventure here. So we see we have our Zeta passives. The passives do not change throughout the season. So every week in Zeta, they will receive these passive scores. +2 farming, +1 academia, +1 commerce, +2 entertainment, and +1 defense. Our week 2 active games, we have farm, got a +5 from NSI. Group did not question what that was. That is for the New Settlement Initiative, something that the settlement put together expecting this large swarm of new people to come in, but turns out it was only a few of them, but they still gained these large active quantities that were already set up ahead of time. And then they got another 5 from Academia from the Dancer Sanctuary that the group cleared through, gaining valuable Academia on some of the flora that was in that cave, as well as the history and language that Rutherford and other scholars will share that information with Tarrendale. So moving back over, we can see this is week 2. Each of these dots represents 1 point. If it's filled in, it means they have it. If it's not filled in, it means they don't have it. Pretty simple. Right now they have 14 farm, 7 academia, 2 commerce, 4 education. I don't know why I keep saying education. I made this up. I should remember what it is. 4 entertainment and 2 defense. So how these will work. Resource points are what you need to survive the season. So by the end of Zeta, they will need to have 10 in all of these. I know that's not looking too good right there, but we'll find other ways that they can boost that later. Expansion points, EP, is your next thing. You can get 5 per resource, and these will go into a pool of this kind of currency at the end of the season that they'll be able to use these expansion points to buy upgrades and stuff like that. And then beyond that, we have overflow points. Overflow points are not useful to you. You cannot use them to buy expansions at the end of the season. You've already survived your resources for the season. Overflow is basically it's going to be thrown away unless you can arrange for a trade before the end of the season. So if they know they're going to have 20, let's say, farm, they only need 15 of that. They can go trade this farm to another territory for something maybe they're lacking, so that it'll be good on both ends. But this has to be arranged before the end of the season. If you don't meet your threshold of RP, you don't technically survive the season. Although it might just be one thing, this usually is a sweeping effect. So if they don't get their defense as it should be, a monster could break through their walls, disrupting the shops, the academy, and even the farms, setting them back in all of these different categories. I think that covers everything as far as the face system. There's probably something I'm forgetting, but it'll come back up time and time again in the campaign, so if you keep listening, don't have to worry about that. From here, Riley told them about other ways they could improve these scores. The Warden will only give them core missions, kind of like the Dancer Sanctuary, after this season, usually only once a month, but it could last 2 or 3 weeks. It could send them way off of O'Shane's territory and somewhere else for a bigger gain or something that the settlement needs. And in the meantime, they can spend their time as they choose, as long as they are making sure these numbers get met. One of the main ways they can make sure these numbers get met is by helping out people within the settlement. This can be done by talking to people directly and seeing what they need, maybe going and helping a farmer to get a few extra farm, or the job board. The job board, Riley suggested that they go look into, and they were able to find 3 quests on there. Boulette babysitters. There was a monster rancher that needs help wrangling a new collection of young Boulettes. They have not done this one yet, but this is a good example. You can see it gives a description of what it might be. The Academy and the Warden's office overlook these requests, and they set kind of an estimated time frame and list out the rewards that will be done for them. So if they take this one, it would take 3 in-game days, and they would gain 400 gold, 2 farm RP, the Boulette Codex entry, and a mystery reward. These, under the gold and the RP, are usually just ancillary rewards. A lot of times quests might not have those, but every quest will give gold and RP. And this will be how they get this active RP that you see over here on the week 2 active gains, that kind of thing. The 2 they were able to complete so far that will show up on the week 3 scorecard is Drink with Caution was the first one they went and did. We had Scholar Amelia. They went and tested out some different flora that she had found around the settlement and tried to figure out what kind of potions they could make with this kind of thing. It was a fun little event where a lot of them got a lot of strange effects combined with it, and they were able to find these 3 flowers. The Haba flower that created a love potion, the Vantag flower that gave a potion of advantage, and the Goldjet potion, or the Goldjet flower that gave a potion of Hill Giant Strength. One additional one that I do not have a card for because this is not something I had planned for, but that's the best part of D&D is stuff you don't plan for. Grimby had taken a bit of the flower that they had fought in the Dancer's Sanctuary, and he offered it to Amelia to try, and that was able to produce a fog potion. It turned him into a fog. I can't remember the exact name of the potion. It's a normal D&D item. Anyway, they went home and tried to deal with all the different effects that they had gained through this. Only one of them on each round of this testing would be the correct one. Everyone else would get a negative effect that would last for a few days. Baker aged a little bit. Grimby couldn't stop laughing. Oigo even split into 3 different Oigos. So maybe you're missing out on that. Maybe I'm saving you from 3 King Oigos by not downloading this recording. Only time will tell. From there, they went the next day to the 3rd and final request that was on the board, setting the bar. Setting the bar, Captain Domino Ray had told Grimby early on about how all he knew was sailing and drinking, and with the art gone, all that's left is drinking. So he wanted to open a bar in town, which is a good thing. It'll help the commerce. So this one took 2 nights where they would help Domino Ray in opening his bar. Grimby and Blade were bartenders. The 3 Oigo triplets were the bouncers, and Brother Baker was the MC. Unfortunately, Kobe had to step away for this session pretty early on, so we had him in the potion segment. It gave him a horrible hangover, and he just retreated to the Breakfast Club dorm for a little bit. In between each night of doing these missions, Blade continued to hear these little rodents kind of stealing the breakfast foods from the foyer. And slowly gaining up on them. One night, getting a look at this small rodent creature with a hat and a cloak on. But every time they'd get into the basement, he could no longer find them. Sometimes he'd be able to hear them, but he couldn't see them anymore. Eventually, by the time they got back from setting up the bar, Captain Domino Ray's Sky Bar, they decided to set up a trap and capture these things. Or at least figure out what's going on. They're tired of these pests coming in and stealing their food, so they're going to hunt them. They do several things. They find a small Tom and Jerry-esque hole in the basement of the Breakfast Club dormitory. Oigo shoves his arm in there, beginning to dig, and kind of widens and loosens the stones around this hole a lot, but can't really get much further than his arm. So they decide to set up. Oigo stands mightily right above the hole, ready to drop down. Grimby kind of at the stairs. Brother Baker hidden away, and Blade attached to the ceiling. But nothing comes. They don't see anything come out of the hole for the entire night. Only occasionally hearing little pitter-patters, but not actually seeing anything. Until eventually, a good perception check from Grimby hears noises from the first floor. He opens this door and realizes that there are these invisible figures kind of moving the food off of the wall. Kind of connecting the two, they realize that Grimby is watching them, and they rush underneath his feet, still invisible, trying to get back down to the basement and get to that hole to safety. Grimby blasts the the horde of rodents as they make their way down the staircase, blowing up the final few stairs and killing a few of these rodents in the process. Before Oigo tries to block off the hole by jumping up and slamming down on the ground. But the hole had already started to become loose over time, as well as Oigo's digging from earlier. When he leapt up, the ground shook and the entire wall kind of behind him collapsed. With this, the group turned on the lights, kind of collecting themselves, and Blade, surveying the rubble, noticed some of the rubble was offset from the ground, realizing that one of these rodents was still under there, invisible. As he grabbed it, it bit Blade's hand. As he let go of it, it revealed himself, and this small rodent, the same one pictured here that Blade had seen before, pulls out a steak knife from his cloak, telling the group to back up as Blade pulls out his gun and questions who this is. He reveals himself to be Tobias, one of the Morbai runners. And that was where we ended the chapter. So we're going to be picking up Chapter 5 this Wednesday at 7 p.m. twitch.tv/cursebusters, and I will make sure to download and upload this one to YouTube so I don't have to do this again. Maybe you like this more. If anyone does watch this and they like this kind of recap as well as the VOD itself, let me know, and maybe I'll do these in the future. So if you want to catch back up, it's a little easier than watching hours and hours of footage, a lot of which is D&D, we'll say, which is just a lot, some dead time mixed in, but that's what we love about the game. Yeah, so we'll find out this Wednesday a little bit more about the Morbai runners, what they're about, who they're about, and why they were stealing all this breakfast food. So you're not going to want to miss out. This will be a really fun little storyline. Until then, I don't really have an outro. We'll see you then, I guess.